Did you know that salt was considered so valuable in biblical times that it was more than just a seasoning? In the Bible, salt symbolizes purity, loyalty, and the very covenant between God and His people. Today, we're diving deep into how something as simple as salt can carry such deep spiritual significance. By the end of this video, you might look at salt in a whole new way. Salt played an essential role in ancient life, and its mention in Scripture is no accident. Let's start with Leviticus 2:13. Where God gives a very specific instruction to the Israelites. You shall season all your grain offerings with salt. You must not let the salt of the covenant of your God be missing from your grain offering. With all your offerings you shall offer salt. This verse introduces the concept of a covenant of salt-abiding, lasting agreement between God and His people. But why salt? In ancient times, salt was a powerful preservative. It kept food from spoiling, symbolizing how God's promises would never fade or expire. Just as salt preserves, God's covenant with Israel was meant to last forever, unchanging and pure. The significance of salt goes even deeper. In Numbers 18:19 we read, "All the offerings of the holy gifts, which the Israelites offer to the Lord, I have given to you and your sons and daughters as a perpetual due. It is a covenant of salt forever before the Lord for you and your offspring with you." This verse connects salt with a perpetual covenant, one that would endure for generations. The use of salt as a symbol in offerings highlighted its role in preserving not just food, but the sacred relationship between God and His people. The salt of the covenant represented loyalty, faithfulness, and the idea that God's promises were incorruptible. Now let's fast forward to the New Testament. Jesus also used salt as a metaphor in His teachings. In Matthew 5:13, He tells His followers, "You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt loses its flavor, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot." This powerful statement reveals that we as believers are called to be like salt. Just as salt preserves and purifies, we are called to preserve what is good and true in the world. But there's more. Salt also enhances flavor. Jesus was reminding His followers that their presence in the world should make life better for others by living out the gospel, showing kindness, and being an example of God's love. What happens if salt loses its flavor? Back in biblical times, if salt became contaminated, it couldn't fulfill its purpose. Similarly, if we lose sight of our calling, our ability to positively impact others is diminished. Jesus' words challenge us to stay true to our purpose, to preserve our faith, our integrity, and our commitment to God. But there's one more fascinating aspect of salt that often gets overlooked. In Colossians 4:6, Paul writes, "Let your conversation be always full of grace, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how to answer everyone." Here, Paul uses salt as a metaphor for how we should communicate with others. Our words should be like salt, gracious, thoughtful, and impactful. Just like salt enhances flavor in food, our words should uplift and bring meaning to conversations. Salt, in this sense, represents wisdom and discernment, teaching us to speak in ways that reflect God's grace. So, the next time you reach for salt, remember, it's more than just a seasoning. It's a symbol of God's lasting promises, our role as believers in the world, and the importance of staying true to our faith. As Jesus said, we are the salt of the earth, called to preserve goodness and bring flavor to the lives of others. Thank you for watching. If you found this exploration of salt fascinating, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Godly Tasks for more insights into the Bible. Follow us for daily inspiration, and be sure to check out our other videos that dive deep into the hidden gems of Scripture. Stay blessed and keep spreading God's light in the world.